Good morning. So we are doing the Uddhav Gita. We had done chapter 15 and in that we had completed till verse 29. Today we are going to continue from verse 30 onwards. For just a small recap, the yogi who is supposed to have done a lot of things like dispassion, detachment and so on has finally reached a stage where he sees Krishna in his heart. This is where we had ended. That means Krishna is seen in his heart. So we are now going to progress further from there. So we are doing the Uddhav Gita, chapter 15, verse 30. When he sees me, the self of all, the knot of his heart breaks to pieces, all his doubts are dispelled, and his karma is destroyed. Now, what does it mean when he says that when he sees me, the self of all? We have been continuously talking about how a person is supposed to be lost in himself, not the physical being, but the divine self. Once a person is lost in the divine self, then he reaches a destination which is called realization. Realization means knowledge comes to this person, an understanding comes, a knowledge comes. He has a clear idea about the divine, about his position and who he is. So when the questions are raised, who am I, who is God, where can I find him, who am I connected to him with, how is the connection between us? There are many questions like that. So the primary question is, who am I? So the I is not the egoistic I, but what we call as the self. Knowing your true self. You are neither this body, nor the senses, nor the mind. So then who are you? So you are that divine self. Now this divine self is also the divine God. Both are one and the same. You are a part of the whole. So you are literally like a small portion of the whole. So you can imagine it's like a big jigsaw puzzle. And when the jigsaw puzzle is put together, what happens is you are that one tiny piece. When you put that piece in the puzzle gets completed. Then you can see the entire picture and say, now I know. So that is that small puzzle, piece of the puzzle, which is called the self. So your self is now a part of the big self, right? So he says, when he sees me, the self of all. Now in everybody there is an individualized self, supposed to be an individualized, a separate kind of thing. Actually there is nothing separate, but for the purpose of understanding, the self is taken out as a separate one. So this separate self, which we are talking about, then says, oh, I am not separated actually from the divine. I am in the divine. I am a part of the divine. So how can I be separate? Think. There is one example which I can give you. Now, these are hair, Are they a part of me? This being, this person? Yes. So naturally, every portion, an eye, a hair, ears, nose, these are one part of this person, isn't it? Can I remove it out and say, oh, this is the ear? No, I cannot say that. Because then that ear has no value, it is dead, isn't it? Suppose if I pull out my hair and say, oh, these are my hair. No, till I am identifying with it, I will say my. When you go to the barber, when you go to the hair cutting salon, what happens is they are cutting hair of everybody. All right. So what happens is everybody's hair falls down and it's all collected everywhere. Can you identify yours? No, there is no way of identification. So I hope you got that example clear. So you cannot have a separation. So the individual self is not separate from the divine self. And Krishna says, I am the self of all. Everybody has this identity called the self, and I am the self of all. Everybody's self is me alone. Otherwise, you will not exist. And then he says, the knot of the heart breaks to pieces. Now, it is believed over here, the knot means I know, that kind of a thing. I know, I am separate, I know myself better than anybody else. That is egotism. But here in this case, since this book is also a part of the little bit on the Kundalini and the Tantra Yoga also, so you have to include those aspects also. The knot of the heart means Hridaya Granthi, the knot of the heart. Now these knots, what are they? They are the ones which ties you down on this earth. They are making you human. They are making you into what you are, the physical body. When we untie the knot, imagine, you have seen many people going in for the inauguration of a store or some such place. What do? They go and cut the ribbon, isn't it? So there is a knot, or they will just untie the knot and that place will be open. Exactly like that. So the untying of the knot happens. So the knot of the heart. Alright? Hridaya, heart, Granthi, knot. This thing gets removed. When it gets removed, the knot from the heart gets removed, then the passage to the heart opens. Alright? Now, when we all think that the God is somewhere outside of us, human beings have this understanding that there is a God outside of us, and then we pray to this God and we say, God, please help me do this. All kinds of prayers are there. But no, the God lives in your heart. And this has been said by literally all the religions in the world. The God is within you. You are that divine. So when the knot of the heart opens up, with this meditative man who has constantly worshipped the Lord, remember that, this knot cuts asunder, it is broken to pieces, then the passageway inside opens up. So when I go into the cavernous heart, the heart which is not physical heart, by the way, otherwise you may think that I am talking about your physiological heart. No, nothing like that. This is the heart which is the heart of the matter, as we call it, right? The one which goes aflutter when you are going through your, when you are in love or something like that, you feel that, something like that. So, this knot cuts asunder, and then you enter that place. And when you enter that place, you can see right inside. Right inside. It is said that there are multiple doorways inside. Multiple doorways inside. And right in the center of it all lives the divine. Okay? Now, I am not going to give you a detailed explanation of this because we are doing this scripture, which is called the Uddhav Gita. So let us see how it says. So, all his doubts are dispelled, and when he is entering this cavernous place, he meets the divine, Sri Krishna. His palace is there. So it is like, so the knot of the heart is where we were, and when the knot opens up, it cuts asunder. You get to see the inside, and inside we find this divine self. Many a times in many of the scriptures it is written that you see this divine God. You get an experience of this God. It is mentioned, okay? And when they are speaking in terms of getting an experience of this divine, this is exactly what happens. You see the divine Lord yourself. And then a very strange thing happens. Krishna says, the doubts are dispelled. What are the doubts? The doubts are very simply this: I am this body. I am this body. I have a name. In the material world, everybody has a name, isn't it? Everything has a name. So I have a name. I have a family. I have relatives. I have friends. I have a house. I have this car. I have this. I have that. That I. The identification with the I which you have is cut. You are not the body. Understand this one thing. Why do you think you are this body and this person? This is a misconception. The misconception is that you are so much attached to your body and your parents and your wife and your husband and your children that you have not gone beyond your nose to see. The truth is, there is nobody which belongs to you, and you don't belong to anybody. Both of you all are not belonging to each other. So the moment you say that these are my parents, you are identifying that this body has been given by these parents. So where were your parents before this? And where were you before this? Ask yourself this question. So before this, were these your parents? Simple example. You see, you have read some stories in the past, isn't it? You have heard about the different avatars of Vishnu that have come on this earth, correct? Now, if he has come as Sri Krishna, his parents are different. Do you agree with me? Now, when he came as Sri Ram, were the same parents there at that time? No. That time, they were a different set of parents. Sri Ram's father was Dashrath. And here it was completely different. Imagine that. If you think about it, the various avatars that are there. When he came as a fish, do you think he had human parents? No way. I mean, imagine having a human parent and giving birth to a fish. It doesn't work like that. When he came as a Varaha avatar, do you think the same parents were pigs or what, or something like that? I mean, imagine that. So now I hope you understand this. Forget about our religion, any other religion in this world where it's the same, where person says, I was born before this. Gautam Buddha says that. And where was he? He was in Banaras. You think Gautam Buddha's parents in that particular life, as Siddharth, were the same as previous one? No. Now let us come to the wife or the children. Think. Common sense will tell you that the same parents are never there. The same children are never there. The same wife is never there. None of these match. So your understanding that these are my parents, whoever your parents are, whoever your wife or your husband is only for this time being. It's like a rented place, You're gone to a rented apartment and then you are going to enjoy whatever facilities that are there. And once you have finished your term, what do? You get out of that place, isn't it? So the attachment, if you have an attachment to a rented place, what is going to happen? Do you get this problem which you are facing in your life? So this rented apartment means the body. This is a rented apartment. You are staying in this body. Why do you believe that this is your? It's nothing to do with you. It belongs to Prakriti. It belongs to Mother Nature. She has rented it out to you. You see, even when you go on a hike or when, suppose you are doing anything, going on a, say, tour, do you think that the aircraft which you are sitting in belongs to you? It doesn't. You have just taken it for a few hours. You take a flight from one place to the other, you go over there, get down and get out of that airport. You are not saying that this is my aircraft. It doesn't belong to you. And neither does the money that you think you have. Think. Do you think that the money that you have in your pocket today belongs to you? Tomorrow, if the whole amount of money is, told, this currency is not valid, then what will you do? In some of the African countries, this has happened. One day the currency is there, the next day the currency has changed. What does a person do? Can you run that currency over there? Think about it. Today, if you are sitting with 1 million rupees, with 1,000 rupee note, do you think you can even go and give it to anybody? That currency has become dud. The 1,000 rupee note was before demonetization, isn't it? The validity was there before that. Now it is invalid. It's become like dust. You can burn it. Nobody is going to say anything to you. It's the same thing. This body, after that it becomes a 1,000 rupee note demonetized, we get burnt or buried in some place. So then what makes us think that these people whom we call as our parents, brother, sister, husband, wife, children, they belong to you? In your next life, you are not going to be anybody. None of these people may be there with you. So you will call some other woman your wife. I mean, not necessary that you are going to be a husband. You got what I am saying? This time you got a body of a man. Next time you may get a body of something else only. Then what happens? This time you are saying, I am not going to take care of the children. Alright? Next life, seahorse. Okay? You become a seahorse, you have to carry your baby in your pouch only. I mean, just imagine, you just have that ahankara, the ego which says, I will not look after the children. I am a very busy person. Sorry boss, next life, seahorse. Which children? I don't know, some other children. So this is the truth. This false assumption that these are our parents, it's totally false. This is your family, again false. So why are you attached? If you want to attain the spiritual world, then first thing is you got to drop this attachment of everything. including the body. This is my body. What body are you talking about? Oh, I love to eat this. I want to be like this. I travel in first class. Okay, come on. Big deal. Next time you will travel in first class. Don't worry. I will make you a cockroach in first class. Is that okay? Or maybe a mosquito. He's also traveling. Mosquito can also travel from one place to another. But doesn't make a difference. So what makes you think that this is your body? So got the whole gist of it? Forget this idea that this is you. I am so and so. This is what he says. When the doubts are dispelled, when your doubts are cut off completely, the heart opens up to the knowledge that I am not this body. I am not the person that I think I am. I don't have a name in this. I am that divine being. And that divine being, which is a part of the Parabrahma, the divine, supreme, I don't have a name. These are not my parents. This is not my body. See, the moment you say this is not my body, you're not going to treat it like, okay, I don't care about it. that way, no. You have to take care of it. See, if you're flying in an aircraft, you better be careful that the aircraft is taking off and landing properly, isn't it? Otherwise, you will say tomorrow, this is not my aircraft. And you will take a parachute. Parachute won't open then. What happens? So the problem is this. The body has been given to you on rent. Treat it nicely. Don't misuse it. And go ahead in your life. Once you have understood the truth about life, that nothing belongs to you, no person in this body is yours, no parents, no spouses, no children, no relatives, no friends. Nothing belongs to you. You are nobody connected to them. Then whom are you connected to? That understanding comes with the unraveling of the knot of the heart. You get to understand you are a part of that whole. We did this just now, 2 minutes ago. You are a part of the whole. That whole is called the Parabrahma, Paramatma. You are that little Atma who is a part of the Paramatma. And then the next word is called the karma is destroyed. What is this karma? Come back to it. These are not your parents. This is not your body. These are not your relatives. This is not your house. This is not your name. All that you have, which you have come with, is called the prarabdha karma. Prarabdha means something which you have come to spend in this world. The karma which you have come to spend in this world. That you have to do. But there is a whole load of karma associated with all your past lives. It is called sanchit, accumulated karma. The moment the understanding comes that this body is not connected to this parents, this spouse, this children, so and so, this world, this body is nothing. Then, if this body is freed, so this person, the person is called the self, is freed. I don't have ownership of this. I don't have ownership of the parents. I don't have ownership of my spouses, my children, nothing. Then whom do you own? Nothing. If you get out of this, then your previous life, remember at that time also you had parents. And the life before that also you had parents. You might have been a chicken for all you know. Or don't you think the chicken would have had a mummy and a daddy? Of course it has. Prior to that you might have been a bird Before that, you might have been some cockroach or something. Who knows? You might have been whatever, a frog, for all you know. Everything has got a parent. Two parents, a set of parents, which is mother and father. All those relationships, they get demolished because your understanding is clear now. You don't belong to anyone. You are not anybody's property, and neither do you own anything in this world. You are free. This is seen in another way. Now let us say you have your phone. Now you are carrying your phone with you. All right? You know how possessive you are of your phone? If somebody comes and takes it, let us say you are going in a train and you are sending a message on WhatsApp or something, and your neighbor comes and picks your phone up from your hand. Do you think you'll like it? No. You'll want to back, isn't it? That's your possession. If a phone becomes your possession, the body is also a possession. My body, my this thing. Got it? So all these possessions, the possessiveness which you had for even the worst thing in life, even a small thing like a pen, a pen. You don't want to leave that pen also. A pair of slippers. You know how protective you are of your, slippers or whatever, shoes. When you go to some place and you have to remove your shoes outside, you are so protective about it. All right. So that is how it is. The possessiveness which you have, that also goes. So if somebody wears your garments, will you be bothered? Of course you are bothered right now. If somebody takes your shirt and wears it, you are going to, how can you wear my clothes? Don't you say that. That also goes away. Liberation comes when you don't possess anything. Now you will understand why all these yogis are without anything in their pocket also. No money. No money. Correct? Nothing. Only one pair of clothes. They wash them and they wear them. And that's why most of the yogis who are all these naked yogis you have seen, no? You have seen in all those National Geographic serials and all that. Huh? They come for this. Now next year there is one, Kumbh Mela in Haridwar. So they come for Kumbh Mela. Most of them are naked. They don't carry anything. Mambam bole. They'll come naked. They'll take one dip and then they'll go back somewhere. What are they carrying? What can you rob from this person? Except for his life, of course. You can't rob anything from this person, can you? He doesn't have anything. What will you rob? Nothing. All right? So, this is the truth about it. Now come back to our story. So, this karma associated with various bodies in various lifetimes, that is destroyed. So, Krishna gives you an understanding. Once you have reached and untied the knot of your heart, you will see me, and when you see me, all doubts will be dispelled. Your karma is destroyed. We go to the next verse, chapter 15, Uddhav Gita, verse 31. Hence, the practice of knowledge or dispassion is scarcely of any use to the yogi who is devoted to me and his mind centered in me. Hence, the practice of knowledge or dispassion is scarcely of any use to the yogi who is devoted to me and has his mind centered in me. A devotional person, a person who is called a devotee, he has no use of the knowledge. He doesn't even have to, do karma yoga also. The karma yoga, the jnana yoga, the hatha yoga and the pranayama and the meditation, everything becomes null and void. Why? You are my devotee. If you are my devotee, you have become one with me. Did we not talk about it just now? You are not the body. Correct? If you are not the body, you are the self, which is a part of me, which is the big self. Krishna says this. Correct? Now, if you have reached me, I am the super boss of everything, Krishna says, then why are you bothered about all the knowledge and stuff like that? You got it? See, in our life, what do? We gather degrees, right? We gather degrees, citations, so many certificates, and thinking that, oh, I did this course from this place, I did that course from that place. And we put up our certificates and we say, see, I did certification of this. Who cares? Who cares? All your certificates and everything go down the drain. Why? Because nobody cares for what you do. You can get an MTech degree or something like that, or some PhD from some place also, or you can become a graduate from some university or something like that, and yet you will be working in some godforsaken place. And do they care about your degree or what? Nobody cares. Your friends, yeah, you can just show off. I got a degree, not even worth a toilet paper. Think about it. What is it that you are going to do? Yesterday, I was having a satsang with one person and I was asking him, I said, think about it. Today, we have come to a point where all your coding and your programs are done by another program, artificial intelligence, GPT-3, they call it. Okay, don't bother. Elon Musk owns that company. Now, this is just one example for you to understand. So, you are putting your son in some big college so that he can become a computer engineer. All your computer assembly is done in China and in big countries, Nobody is there inside that assembly line also. Nobody knows who is there. The machines are doing the tick, 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 tick. Everything is done by the machines. Nobody is there. Second, everything, all your programs and everything can be written by this great artificial intelligence, AI. Even if your thesis, and I am not joking about it, I am really not joking about it. There is a person in the United States who wrote his entire doctoral thesis on this program. You can download it, by the way. The entire doctoral thesis, he didn't do anything. And you can get a doctorate out of it. Now, I want you to think about it. If this is the kind of scenario we are coming to, what is the use of your degree? When I can tell this program, sir, write one thesis for me on this subject matter. And he will do. How many pages you want? So many pages. So many things. If the programs are so AI is so good, your degree is useless. So when I asked this gentleman, I said, so you are putting your son in some great college and all. What is the use? Can he compete with this AI? Because now he must be around 16 years old, 15 years old. By the time he graduates, 5 years down the line or whatever, what is going to happen to him? He is competing with super brains. Right? What job is he going to get? Forget about the job. What is he going to do? It's a very, very difficult scenario. The degree, whether it is graduate, postgraduate, doctoral or whatever, is worth nothing. Because you will have these great programs, AIs and all these fellows in this world doing what you want. Your job is on the line and your life is on the line. So what do? You take a very big degree and you go and do farming. Alright? What farming you will do? Okay, in your flat, wherever you are staying, in your condo or your flat or whichever place you are staying, put some plants over there and grow your vegetables. And that's the only job you will do. I get fresh vegetables in my garden. Today we have this case in pandemic. All the offices are shut down. All the companies are now, most of the companies are saying no coming to work from home. Right? Do a Zoom call, do this call, do that call, do meet. You are not required in your office also. So you can't rob stationery. See? And you can't say to your colleague, this is my chair, don't take it. You can't even say that. Now you are sitting in that broken chair of yours which you have never bothered to even repair. And then you will say, I will ask my company for a chair and I'll ask them for the downtime of my computers and stuff like that. What nonsense. You are now become redundant. This is the start of your redundancy. It's a very bleak scenario. So now next thing you can do is become an astronaut and tell Elon Musk, I want to go to Mars and go with him. I mean, what else is left then? If you cannot understand the scenario today, so when I was telling him, I said, now think very carefully. What exactly are you doing? By sending your kid to some college and getting educated and stuff like that, in few years' time, he is going to become redundant. Just a few weeks ago, there was this banker who came and you know what he said? You don't even have to come to the bank. So why? All your paper signatures we will take and you will do, and everything you can do online. You don't even have to come to us. So even a place, a banking, where earlier on you had to stand in the queue and the teller would give you such a dirty look and she will give you torn notes and she'll say, these are the notes that I have. You want to take them, take them. Dirty notes and all. You have to accept that. Today, app payment, tick, 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 app payment is done. You don't even see the currency in your hand. And in case if you go to by chance you go to an ATM, you see a nice note coming out from there. Oh, a bill of 100. Wow, it is never touched by hand. You want to preserve it like in a museum. Don't you want to do that? Any which way you are not going to use that note. So now tell me, is the bank of any use to you? I mean, the place where you used to go and stand in the queue, you don't go there. Is the school of any use to you? Because now you have distant education. Education where you can Udemy, this, that, all that kind of nonsense. It's there. People are becoming billionaires by putting up this kind of remote schools. You can also put up. So now, think carefully. Food, there are so many apps you can just do like this and order your food. 20% discount. Use this code. Use the code and get discounts. Funny, isn't it? So the life has become so cheap nowadays. Your education is worse than that. If you are going to pay $1 million for getting some stupid degree, I think it is better not to go for that. Invest in yourself. Kitchen garden, you make a kitchen garden of yourself. That's the only thing remaining for you to do. So, now you got the idea. Even in spiritual, what does Krishna say? He says, if you are my devotee, okay, why do you need all this knowledge? The path of knowledge is worthless. Don't take a degree. Don't bother doing all this, big Vedas and Shastras and all that. Think about it. Whatever I am saying, I want you to think deeply. Deep thinking. Now think. Ramakrishna Paramahansa. What was his level of education? See, not an educated person. Did he read the Vedas and these things? No. Think about the next person, Ramana Maharshi. How much was he educated? Zero. He ran away from school. He wrote a letter to his father, I am running away. And he went to Tiruvannamalai. No education. Did he learn anything from the Vedas and all those things? Nothing. Nisargadatta Maharaj. I am that. How much was he educated? Nothing. I want you to think very carefully. Mirabai. What education? No idea. She was a princess. Fine. Kabir. Tukaram. I mean, I can keep on naming a thousand of these kind of sages and saints. Nobody, not a single person, had formal education. They never learned the Vedas also. No Vedas, no Vedanga, nothing. No Upanishads also. Nobody learned these Upanishads. Nobody learned these Vedas. And all these people that I said, Sai Baba of Shirdi, you think all these people, any of them ever did any yogasana? Not a single person did yogasana. So all your yoga, you can chuck it out. What else did they do? You can't name one person. You know, people come and tell me, oh no, there is one great yogi. He did this. Sir, I don't even know about this person, but I know about Sai Baba. I don't even know this person, but I have heard of Ramakrishna Paramahansa. I don't know your great yogi Baba, but I definitely have heard of Ramana Maharshi. I have heard of Mirabai, I have heard of Tukaram Maharaj, I have heard of all these great people, Jnaneshwar, Mauli. Yes, but your yogi, I have never heard of. In the last few years, people have started hearing. So here, Krishna is saying very clearly, if you are devoted to me, devotion is all about being in love with me. That's it. Beyond that, nothing is required. So when you are devoted to me, it is my job. If I want to give you knowledge, I will give you knowledge. See, you got what I am saying. If I am the boss and I just want you to use a screwdriver and tighten something, I will tell you, take this screwdriver, tighten this. That's it. Screwdriver technology. Your knowledge is complete. That's it. So that is why he says, hence the practice of knowledge or dispassion is scarcely of any use to any yogi who is devoted to me and his mind is centered in me. If your mind is centered in Krishna, then no need of any yoga, no need of reading any books, no need of doing all those body contortion exercises, keeping on doing soham. You don't have to do that also. Don't breathe. I mean, don't breathe means you will be dead, sorry. What I mean is you don't have to do that deep breathing exercises and all that. You can be normal, you know. I mean, I can't think of all these Tukaram Maharaj and all that sitting and doing. We are not doing any of those things. I mean, what kind of... Neither did Ramakrishna Paramahansa did that, nor Sai Baba did, nor this Tukaram Baba did. Nobody did all these things. I mean, think about it. No, none of these guys are ever interested in doing it. So here, Krishna is saying these words in the Uddhav Gita. If it still doesn't enter that little dirty brain of yours, you know, that 5% brain which God has given, of all my satsang that I have given in the last 46 minutes, cut that time in between when we lost connectivity. What are you doing? What exactly do you think you are doing? Surrender to me. Now we are going to do a verse where he is going to tell you exactly what is to be done. So we will move to the next verse, okay? So we are going to do chapter 15 Uddhav Gita, verse 32 and 33. Whatever is acquired through work, austerities, knowledge, dispassion, yoga, charity, and through any other means of well-being, all these things, my devotee easily attains it all through devotion to me. Even heaven or liberation or my abode, should he care to have it. Did you understand this verse? It is so simple. He says, whatever you have acquired through work. Work means karma yoga. Suppose you are a great karma yogi. I do work. Come on. That kind of understanding, this man has been working his ass off from the beginning of his life. People say that. Such a hard worker. He still cannot achieve Krishna. You know, it is very difficult because if you are working very hard and trying to get some kind of a understanding, okay, and thinking that I did work, I'm going to get liberated. No, sir. Because at the end of the day, you are still thinking, I worked very hard, I have to get my salary, I have to look after my family, I have to pay the rents, I have to do this, I have to do that, blah, 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 all that kind of. So naturally, whatever you have attained with work goes down the drain. Okay? He says, whatever you think you have got through work, austerities, all those Babajis which sit in the Himalayas and they keep on doing all that, that is called austerity. That austerity also you can't do, because when you are doing Om, your stomach is growling and saying, grrr, and saying, I'm very hungry. So what does the Yogi Baba do? He says, oh, I have to cook something now. Or maybe I have to go to some ashram and beg for food. That austerities, you can't do that also. Knowledge, you can go and study in whichever school you want, college and this and that, and you can go to Vedic schools also. That Vedic school is useless, I can tell you. Why? Because of this verse. Krishna is endorsing this verse. This is like a degree certificate. Please understand. Krishna degree certificate. Krishna's university. University of Krishna. Okay. Please understand. University of Krishna says, this person is certified to be a student of this university because he is devoted to me. Finished. Signature. Done. Okay. And below that there is no big seal over there. It just shows, the heart of the knot of the heart opened up. That is the seal you will get. Funny, isn't it? So, whatever you have attained through knowledge, dispassion. I am dispassionate in this world. I really don't care about these things. I'm not thinking of buying a Mercedes Benz, but I'll buy a very small car for myself. Which one? Santro. I'll buy a Santro. Okay? Or, no. Nowadays everybody goes by cycle. I will buy the cycle. Dispassion. Yoga. Whatever yoga you do, you can stand on your head for your 20,000 years also. Nothing is going to come to you, because only thing that you will get is a big headache. I can assure you this much. To try sitting in one position for 2 hours, 3 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, 30 hours, after that, what's going to happen? Have you ever seen a dead body, by the way? When you see a dead body, finally the blood settles down at the bottom. If the body is lying on the floor like this, the blood settles at the bottom. Have you heard of this or no? Yeah, it's exactly like that. You are going to become dead, sir, very soon. He says, whatever you think you have achieved by education, that is the Jnana Yoga, by Karma Yoga, by any kind of Hatha Yoga, by whatever other path that you have done through, or through any other means of well-being, whichever other means that you can think of. My devotee, the devotee of Krishna, easily attains it through devotion to me. Easily attains through devotion to me. Means what? He's just saying, sir, you need one recommendation letter from me. Krishna says, you become my devotee. Recommendation letter to the highest heavens in the world also, I can grant you. No 5-star hotel, 7-star. All, everything granted. You want yoga with it? Okay, take it. Buy one, get one free. Like that. There is no buying over here. It's all free, free, free. Alright? So he says, through devotion to me, if you ask for any heaven, suppose you want to go to Shiva's heaven, it's called Kailasha. Not that new Kailasha, okay? Old one. Shivji's Kailasha. You can go there. Of course. You want to go and meet Shivji and meet him, of course you can go to Kailasha. You want to go to Vaikuntha and meet the sleeping god over there, he is in Yoga Nidra, alright? You can meet him also. You want to go to Brahma's heaven and see all his other heads also? Yes, you can do that. You want to go to Indra's heaven and really enjoy the great grand ceremony. He has party 24/7, by the way. Indra's heaven is all about partying. If you are that party animal, then Indra's heaven is the best one for you. Because his heaven is all about partying. All fancy stuff. So he's got the best cars, best everything over there. So Indra's heaven. You want to go to any other heaven also? Just tell me whichever heaven you want to go to. I will send you there. Free, free, free. A transport also free. I have my Uber services. Okay, they will just drop you there and they will bring you back also. So he says you can have any heaven you want. If you want liberation, let us say you want to be liberated. I never want to go back to this world again. Who said that? You know who said that? I never ever want to go back to that world again. Buddha said it. Buddha said, and he said, I want to become nothing. Okay, good, granted. You want to become nothing, you just want to be liberated. Want to vanish? Done. He says, you want my abode? My abode is, now this is one very catchy thing over here. My abode, Krishna, when he says my abode, you know what it is? It is nothing to do with Brahmand and all that kind of stuff. That is the first divine unmanifest. That is the lower level, lower floors. I stay only in the penthouse. Okay, and only one direct lift to penthouse. See, all the other heavens, no, there are different, there are those general lifts. You will find all others going over there. My floor means straight away, straight up. I am in the second divine unmanifest. And then, for your very kind information, you cannot come over there just like that. You have to sign on to the form over there, Gopi form. G-O-P-I. Please don't think about GOP, otherwise you will have a problem. I don't know how many understood this joke, but only the Americans and some people who know about America will understand. It's a Gopi party, not a GOP party. Okay? So, yes, you have to become a Gopi. You can come to my heaven straight away. You can come to my heaven. Should you care for it? Whatever you want, you can just tick on that. The form will be given to you. The devotion. Devotional service form, whatever form you want. I want to enjoy this. Tuck. Immediately. It's like that. So did you get the point? See, suppose you want to learn the most difficult yoga of all also. And you want the most handsome teacher, should I say? I don't know. But if you want the best teacher in the world, why? Because the reasons why. You want to have the best gym in the world. Done, no problem. What else do you need? The devotion to Krishna is the ultimate. It is just not written in this scripture. It is written in the Bhagavad Gita as well. Everybody swears by the Bhagavad Gita, don't they? So what is Krishna saying? Krishna is saying one very simple fact. You become devoted to me 100%, not 99.9. That means you are not having your mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, children, this world and all those things. No, they are not number one in your life. I am number one. For everything Krishna, for everything Krishna, everything Krishna, like that. Devotion is like that. So when you just think of Krishna, then what happens? He says very simply, you come to me. And when you come to me, don't have to get any eligibility certificate. See, eligibility means yoga, all those different karma yoga, jnana yoga, different yogas, institute certificates. There, by the way, I don't take any fake institute certificates, so don't come with those. So think about it. No certificate required, no qualification required, nothing, nothing, nothing. You can be the most uneducated person. You don't have knowledge also. You may be second standard pass, third standard pass, or fifth standard pass. Doesn't matter. And even if you are fail fifth standard also or 10th standard fail also, doesn't matter. If you are my devotee, you come to me, you are devoted to me 100%. It is my job to ask you, what do you want now? You want liberation? Done. You want heaven? Any heaven you say. Done. You can go over there and come back. I mean, if you don't want to come back, it's your choice. Okay, that doesn't matter. You want to come to my heaven? Perfect. Not a problem at all. So now did you get the point? Understanding has to be very clear. The devotee of Krishna can get anything in the world without doing any of those things. No need of Jnana Yoga. So don't have to read any Vedas and all those fancy big books. No. You don't have to do austerities. No austerities required. No knowledge, no work. No karma yoga is required. No dispassion is required. No other yoga is required. No charity also. People think by giving charity they will reach heaven. That also you don't have to worry, because I am going to give you without donation. Without your donation I take you. Okay, no donation required. No bribery also. Okay. And through any other means of well-being. None of these other means of well-being you can reach me. But if you are my devotee, I will grant you all those things. Everything is yours. So just be my devotee. Just be devoted to me single pointedly. 4 words which I will end with. 100% faith. You got to have full faith in me, because you know you cannot control anything. From pandemic to your degrees, to your husbands, to your wives, you can't control anything. I'm the one who does everything. So yes, all those things. Faith, have 100% faith in me. Do complete surrender to me. Don't keep on thinking, what will I do, what will I do, what. Any which way you know you can't do anything. Surrender. Third one is called unconditional love. Don't have any conditions. Unconditional love. And fourth is called single pointed devotion. When you have single pointed devotion, I will give you everything that you want. So with this we have come to the end of this satsang. We have done verse 30-33, and I will see you all tomorrow. Today onwards is the start of the Saptashati, which is going on in our ashram very soon, in the next 1 hour's time. You all can join in. So we are doing the Parayan of that. So take care, have a great weekend. I'll see you all tomorrow for this satsang, or you can join for the Saptashati. Alright? Bye.